patients on a regular basis and put into practice everything that you've learned in the first few years. So it is a landmark in your training, and one that I think you'll look back on fondly. So I'd also like to welcome all of my academic colleagues that are here today, and particularly I'd like to welcome Dr. Rita Doyle, who's the President of the Medical Council, and she will say a few words as our guest speaker once we have concluded the ceremony. So just to outline what we will do here, we will bring the students up in groups of 10. Each will receive a white coat, and we would ask that you don't applaud at each student, but we'll maybe do it after several groups. We'll allow you to applaud. There'll be some pictures as it happens, and I'm sure some of the family members will want to take some pictures, and we will have a group photo at the very end of it. So without any further delay, we'll move ahead and we'll call up the first group of students. Hiridea Agnes Murtaraj, Mirdula Agnes Murtaraj, Mohammed Ibar Ahmed, Haneen Al-Balushi, Yasmin Al-Masad, Pierre Albert, Sean Allen, Ganima Al-Traji, Nicholas Anand, and Ray Ardil. Okay. Awesome Aziz, Lydia Babawale, Laura Bascal, Charlotte Bauer Dowling, Michael Behan, Sophia Bekiras, Oisin Bennett, Keelan Blake, Daniel Boland, and Luke Boland. Anna Booth, Reem Busheri, Alex Boylan, Kira Brennan, Caroline Brogan, Jennifer Bruton, Luke Byrne, Kirsten Carpenter, Catherine Carrigy, and Andrew Carroll. Matthew Carter, Lauren Kavanagh, Janine Kuhn-Chan, Timothy Chu, Dominic Chong, Oliver Clark, Aisling Clark, Charlie Clark, Katrina Clear, and Jane Coleman. We have Katie Convoluzier, Owen Collins, Emma Comerford, Keelan Concannon, Owen Connor, Sarah Cooney, Barry Corbett, Owen Coughlin, Tess Coyne, and Patrick Creechan. Aileen Crowley, Emer Crowley, Katie Dalton, Louis de Courcy, Julia Dirks, Alva Dolan, Ryan Donnelly, Gillian Douglas, Louise Dowling, and Lucy Dowling. Owen Downs, Robert Doyle, Michael Duffy, Osasiri Edibiri, Alexander Ergen, Jane Fagan, Gillian Fagan, Thomas Fahy, Sarah Fennelly, and Emer Finnegan. Nicola Flanagan, Sean Flannery, Miles Flitcroft, Claire Foley, Sarah Forder, Lauren Fox, Ciara Fraher, Dara Friars, Sive Friesen Roach, Edward Gahan, Kieran Galvin, Gloria Hui Jin, Ellen Geary, Matthew Gibbons, James Gibson, Samuel Gordon, Sarah Gordon, William Griffin, Napur Gupta, Kleena Hanley. Jack Hanrahan, Ian Harrington, Quiva Hartnett, Talia bin Yusuf, Jazz Henry, Eleanor Hicks, Joshua Ho, Patrick Hollywood, Kira Horan, and Saba Joyce. Poundy Picard, Alba Keane, Matthew Kelly, Stephen Kelly, Kaja Kennedy, Sarah Kennedy, Kira Kyo, Jinbum Kim, Jun Hee Kim, Banavi Kinger, Jeffrey Kerwin, June Don Cole, Rachel Lico, Marcus Koska, Jack Lawler, Keen Lawton, Joel Hui Lee, William Howley, Melissa Wan Chun, Shu Hui Lian, Jaylee Lim Hua, Jonathan, sorry, my mistake, I'm overrunning. Jaylee Lim Hua, Jonathan Lua, Binwai Louis, Sorka Lynch, Stuart McLean, Cormac Maguire, Jaslyn Mayhew, Dara Megan, Angus McCarthy, Rory McCluskey. up with an odd number. I think we're back on track. Alexandra McCreary, Michael McDermott, Catherine MacDonald, Shona McGarry, Hannah McKay, Lucy McLaughlin, Tim McMacken, Mary Ellen McMahon, Ethel McManus, and Emer McMullen. Michael McNamara, Kelsey McCarthy, Ritaj Mohammed, Lauren Mongan, Tess Montmini, Niall Mooney, Dervla Moore, Abigail Morgan, Nancy Morsey, Conor Mullen. Declan Mulligan, Owen Mulqueen, Molly Murphy O'Kane, Tiffany Mustonen, Yin Mayat, Narissa Nankasur, Conor Neary, Cleanan E. Conray, Christine O'Brien, Conor O'Brien. Lorcan O'Byrne, Stephanie O'Connor, Ciara O'Donnell, Owen O'Donnell, Martin O'Donnell, Kieran O'Donovan, Emer O'Donovan, Niamh O'Donovan, Louis O'Halloran, Anna O'Hanlon. Emily O'Hanlon, Amy O'Keefe, Michael O'Leary, Daniel O'Regan, Conor O'Reilly, Jessica O'Reilly, James O'Riordan, Sorka O'Rourke, Killian O'Shea, Lucy O'Sullivan. Thomas Owens, Sorka Parker, Sonia Parmar, Olivia Petersons, Susie Phelan, Madison Phipps, Jan Plesnier, Aoife Pollion, Edmund Power, Alexander Price. Owen Quinlan, Katrina Quinn, Fanula Riley, Kieran Reinhardt, Cian Roberts Walsh, Jane Rowland, Stephen Russell, Marianne Ryan, Renad Saleh, Martin Shields. Alana Silk, Liam Silk, Sarah Sue, Sarah Sloan, Edel Smith Sarniak, James Storm, Kai Fong Suin, Jasandra Sutanto, John Zendry, Stephanie Talbot. Wing Yan Tam, Aldun Teng, Carrie Thorpe, Freya Timon, Owen Tracy, Catherine Vernon, Andrew Wade, Amy Wallace, Holly Walsh, and Jamie Walsh. Ross Walsh, Sarah Walsh, Hang Wee, Laura Whitehill, June Yang, Eunice Yo, Ume Zahidi, Noreen Zaini. So I'd like to congratulate you all on receiving your white coats. I think, as I said to you earlier, this is the start of a new phase of your training. This white coat and the clinical training is indeed a great privilege, but with that privilege comes great responsibility, and the next time we will have you all here together will be on the day you graduate as doctors. So you're starting on a very important phase of your training. So it gives me great pleasure to ask Dr. Rita Doyle, President of the Medical Council, to address you.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, students. Thank you, staff. It is really a great honour to be able to come and talk to you here today. You are not going to get an academic lecture, be reassured. Congratulations to all of you and to your family who have got you thus far. So believe it, your family make great sacrifices for you. It is my privilege and my honour to address you today. I'm a graduate of this university almost 100 years ago now. I jest, at times it does feel like that, and other times it feels like only yesterday. I was actually of the vintage that started medicine here in Belfield, our pre-med year, and then we went to Earlsford Terrace, then both to Merrion Street, which is now the very beautiful offices of the Taoiseach, but was then the Department of Engineering, and we were lectured in physiology, and then to Earlsford Terrace, and then we would come out to Foster Avenue for pharmacology, and so we travelled a good deal. I was very familiar with the 46A bus. There was no such thing as a white coat ceremony then, but we did know at the same stage as you that we were unable to be thrown out of medical school, no matter what happened after that. Unless you did something vicious, you could be a student forever. So it was definitely a cause for celebration. Once you got to that stage, you knew you were well on your way. You are now going to enter into the really sacred world of both doctor and patient. You and I are privileged, and I emphasize that word, privileged, to be allowed to enter in this world, and we must never abuse that privilege. The doctor-patient relationship is a truly unique and special one. It is never an equal relationship, and you must always remember that and never presume it's your right. You must develop your own mode of communication with patients in this very special relationship, always treating your patient with respect and dignity, and learn that the greatest way of communication is to listen. The patient will tell you their story, they will tell you their diagnosis, and they will be your aid if only you let them. About 2 years ago, an acquaintance asked me, when did I know that I wanted to be a doctor? I said, I thought I was about 6 years old. And when did you decide you wanted to become a general practitioner? I said, about a year before that. It came out without thinking, and yet when I reflected on this, I still remembered the GP coming to our house, because in those days domiciliary visits were quite common when I was a child, and he boiling his syringe and needles in a saucepan in the kitchen in order to administer penicillin to my mother, who was ill at that time. I always had a fascination with words, and penicillin rang in my ears, and then resounded in my brain ever since. But I do remember his kindness and caring, and I also remember how well I felt after he had cured me. I just hope some of my patients feel the same way after they've consulted me as I did all those years ago. He was, after all, our family doctor. I am passionate, and I do not apologize for being passionate about my career and about my specialty. I am a general practitioner, a GP. I am so proud to be a GP. I'm proud of my discipline, proud of my training, and proud to be a doctor. I have had a wonderful career, and still I love my everyday work. I love my patients, though they may not realize it, and they and I have gotten to know each other over the years. It is a highly skilled profession, and it takes a long time to learn it. I am still learning. GPs are the best value in the whole of the health service. The GP has the gatekeeper role in medicine. That is to say, we mostly decide whether a patient needs to go on to secondary care or not. Not all patients are sick, and depending on what we do, they may go back to normal living, or they may go on to become a patient, thus suspending some of their independence. Let me give you an example so that you can understand this. A patient comes in to me with a lump. I listen to their story, elucidate their belief around that lump, and then examine them. I find it to be a benign cyst, reassure them, and they go back to normal living. I examine that lump, and alarm bells go off in my head. I don't know what it is, and I decide to investigate it myself, maybe scan it, maybe biopsy it. The patient is anxious and may become a little dependent while awaiting results. I examine the lump, and from the very beginning I know it to be neoplastic, and I need to refer them to secondary or tertiary care. Their lives are now changed. They become a sick patient, and my role is to support them through their diagnosis and their journey into the world of hospital medicine. I graduated in a class of 120 students. There were no graduate entry students in those days. I was one of 18 women in the class of 120, and I look around and guys, you're in trouble. The gender balance was totally different. In fact, it was a gender imbalance. Of that 18, many different disciplines followed: psychiatry, public health, general practice, pathology. No surgeons, no radiologists. I did my internship in St. Vincent's and then went off on a self-structured training scheme, as there was no formal GP training in those days. I remember working in the old St. James's Hospital, and it was a strange place to work. The old workhouse, as it might have been known, and there were still very many old people there, and they just simply died there, like in nursing homes these days. The doctors had a separate canteen. You bought a ticket for lunch, and you presented it to the lady who served you. You ordered what you want, and the next thing you heard was her shouting through the hatch into the kitchen, "A woman's dinner or a man's dinner, whatever." One of my colleagues, who was a female and 6 foot, stood up to her one day. "Mary," she said, "I'm taller than all the men here. I paid the same money and I'll have a man's dinner." She changed the tradition. From there, I went to St. Ultan's Children's Hospital, which was on Charlemont Street, founded by one of the most famous women in Irish medicine, Dr. Kathleen Lynn. This hospital was stuck firmly in the middle of extreme poverty, and our patients were often malnourished and underweight. Childhood obesity did not exist. I vividly remember a GP walking into the hospital with a very sick child in her arms. Rather than wait for an ambulance, she just drove with the child. The child had meningococcal meningitis and survived. I was struck by the speed at which the GP had reacted. I remember that outpatient clinic so well. We spent an awful lot of our time teaching mothers about healthy diets. They couldn't afford infant formula, and babies were often fed with tea from bottles. I learned a huge amount about the effects of deprivation on people's health, and I utterly admire the work that is going on now with the Deep End GP group. The inverse care law, described by the recently deceased Professor Julian Tudor Hart, still prevails. The inverse care law is the principle that the availability of good medical or social care tends to vary inversely with the need of the population served. Proposed by Julian Tudor Hart way back before I even qualified, this term has since been widely adopted. It is a pun on the inverse square law, a term and concept from physics. The deprived areas have half the number of doctors that they need, and the wealthy have twice the number. The disparity between the life expectancy is truly staggering. Often, even in this city, about 4 kilometers apart, there can be 20 years in the difference of life expectancy. The joy of my world is the variety of the work I do and the variety of the people I see. A typical clinic could vary in age from 2 days old to over 100, from sore throats and coughs to antenatal care to depression to end-stage cancer, from the simplest of diagnoses to the most serious, from the cradle to the grave. I've been in the same practice now for nigh on 35 years, so I've have at times 3 generations of the one family under my care. When I was young in practice, most of my patients were young, and as I have aged with them, I was an expert in pediatrics at that stage, as well as antenatal care, sexual health, and contraception. As I aged, so did they, and I became an expert in teen health and gynecology, and then began to care for a lot of older patients with chronic diseases and complex comorbidities such as diabetes, hypertension, coronary heart disease, rheumatoid arthritis, chronic obstructive airways disease, but only all in the one patient. So medically speaking, the job has got harder. I was always interested in education, and when the Irish College of General Practitioners was formed, I very quickly became involved. I studied further and became a tutor in continuing medical education. And almost 10 years later, became the Assistant National Director of CME within the ICGP. Wonderful, heady years where most of the education was peer review. It created a bond between local GPs that rarely ever met each other before, and very quickly, the isolation of general practice was gone. I gained enormously and went to both McMaster University and Cambridge to learn the tools of evidence-based medicine, as it was only becoming a thing at that stage. I met many wonderful people on my journey and was inspired and educated by many, but mostly by my patients. I've met many wonderful people in my career. The most influential was the late Professor James McCormick, sorry, but not of this institution, but of one in the centre of the city. James and Peter Skrabanek penned the book, and get it into your brains, Facts and Fallacies of Medicine, and you can still download it from the internet. I know if James were here today, he would be wishing you all a healthy dose of skepticemia. He defined it as a disease almost unheard of in medical students, an uncommon, generalized disorder of low infectivity. And he stated, medical school education is likely to confer lifelong immunity. Really, what he was saying was, you must never stop questioning. In 2013, I was appointed the ICGP representative on the Irish Medical Council, and now, 5 years and 7 months later, I stand before you as the president of the Irish Medical Council, just 8 months into that role. The Council is responsible for many areas, and regulatory matters are only one part of its responsibilities. It is responsible for monitoring standards in education all the way through your professional life, from undergraduate to graduate, specialist training and continuing professional development. It maintains the register, regulates those who go on to the register, and currently there are more than 22,000 doctors on that register. And I can share with you that for the first time in this country, we have more non-Irish trained doctors than Irish trained doctors. It produces ethical guidelines for practitioners and also investigates complaint. Our role is dual: patient safety and the support of doctors in delivering best care. Our vision is excellent patient care, public confidence in the medical profession, and leadership in healthcare. Our health service is in crisis, mainly because we have not invested enough in people. We have had the cervical check controversy, the Scally report, open disclosure, repeal of the 8th, commencement of the Termination of Pregnancy Act, bringing with it all the ethical issues around conscientious objection, all since I took over last July. So my life is busy. If I were to give you one piece of advice, and I may, it would be this: always, but only always, keep the patient at the top of your agenda, and you won't go far wrong. Whatever argument you have, put your patients first, and you will be safe, and they will be safe. There is a small part of me that really envies you just starting your career. Would I do it again? Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rita. All that remains is for me to thank some of the people that organised this evening. There's a little bit of organisation went into it, so I'd like to thank all the staff, administrative staff in the programme office and the school office and the allied hospitals that have helped put this together and do so on a regular basis in the background. So thank you to all of them. And once again, I'd like to congratulate you all as you start this next phase of your journey, and we'll see you all back here in 2 years' time for the final episode as you graduate from here. So we just want you all to stand and turn around and face the camera at the back so we can get one photograph of everybody, including the academic staff.